There is an uncomfortable truth that almost nobody wants to hear. Most people will never become rich. Not because they are unintelligent, not because they are lazy, and not because money is reserved for some secret elite. The real reason is far more unsettling and far closer to home than most people realize. From the time we are young, we are taught a story that sounds perfectly logical. Study hard, get a good job, work consistently for decades, and eventually you will live a comfortable life. But when you look at the world carefully, that promise seems to break again and again. People who work 12 hours a day still struggle to pay their bills. Highly educated professionals live trapped in debt. And meanwhile, others appear to build wealth without following the traditional rules. That leads to a very uncomfortable question. If working hard were enough, wouldn't everyone be thriving? Most people spend their lives running on a treadmill that never stops. They wake up early, follow schedules, pay bills, wait for the weekend, and repeat the same cycle for 40 years. It's not that they are doing something wrong. They are simply playing a game whose design was never meant to create wealth. Imagine someone who works 8 hours a day and earns a salary. Their income is limited by time. There is an invisible ceiling they can rarely break. They can ask for a raise, they can work overtime, but in the end, they are still trading time for money. And time is the most limited resource that exists. Now imagine someone who builds a system, a business, an investment, a digital asset, an idea that can grow without depending on every single hour of their life. That person is not selling time, they are building something that can multiply. This is where the first major difference appears between the majority and a very small minority. Most people work to earn money. A small group learns to build things that produce money even when they are not working. But the problem doesn't stop there. There is another barrier, deeper and more powerful, that almost nobody talks about: the way we think about money. Many people believe money simply appears after working long enough, but money is actually a result of value, strategic decisions, and understanding how the economic world truly works. Think about two people who earn exactly the same salary. One spends everything they make and lives at the edge of their income every month. The other decides to learn about investing, saves a portion, and uses that capital to generate new sources of income. 10 years later, their lives can look completely different, even if they started from the same place. Wealth is not always created by earning more. Often, it begins by thinking differently. Yet there is something that keeps most people stuck exactly where they are: fear. Fear of trying something new, fear of losing money, fear of failing, fear of looking different in front of others. And the strange thing is that fear often disguises itself as logic. People say things like, "That's too risky," "I prefer something safe," or "maybe someday." But while they wait for the perfect moment, time keeps moving forward, and time is the most limited resource that exists. Investments grow with time. Skills become valuable with time. Projects strengthen with time. Those who start early have an enormous advantage, but most people never start. Another silent factor is environment. The people around us deeply influence the way we think. If everyone around you believes the only way to live is by working for a paycheck until retirement, it becomes very difficult to imagine another reality. The conversations we hear every day shape our expectations. Phrases like "life is hard," "money is always tight," or "that's only for lucky people" are repeated so often that they slowly become a kind of mental programming. Without realizing it, we begin accepting limits that may have never been real. But something interesting happens when a person begins to question those ideas. They start reading about finance. They observe how businesses operate. They pay attention to how money actually moves in the world.
Little by little, they discover something surprising. Wealth is not a magical mystery. It is a set of principles that many people simply never learned. For example, understanding that assets put money into your pocket, while liabilities quietly take it out. Realizing that spending money to look wealthy is often one of the fastest ways to move further away from real wealth. And accepting that financial knowledge can be just as important as any university degree. Most people never learn these things because no one ever taught them, and because traditional education rarely talks about investing, assets, or how to build income that doesn't depend on your time. But there is something even more important: long-term thinking. We live in a culture obsessed with immediate results. We want quick success, quick money, quick recognition. But real wealth is almost never built that way. Companies that last for decades were not created overnight. Great investments need years to multiply. Valuable skills require time to develop. Once someone truly understands this, they begin to see the world differently. Instead of chasing quick wins, they focus on steady growth. And that shift in perspective changes everything. Now here is an interesting part. Many people believe becoming rich requires extraordinary luck or discovering some secret opportunity. But in many cases, the truth is much simpler and much harder. Discipline. The discipline to learn while others choose distraction. The discipline to save while others spend to impress. The discipline to build something small every day, even when the results are not yet visible. It is a quiet process, often invisible, but over time, those small actions begin to accumulate. And suddenly, what once seemed impossible starts to feel possible. If you are listening to this right now, chances are you have already felt that inner curiosity, that sense that there must be another way to live, another way to think about money, another way to build freedom. That curiosity is powerful, because every time someone questions the rules they accepted without thinking, an entirely new path begins. A path that many people in this community are already exploring, sharing ideas, reflecting on money, work, and the decisions that truly shape the future. And perhaps the most important question is not why most people will never be rich. The real question might be something else. What would someone do differently if they decided not to follow exactly the same path as everyone else? Maybe they would commit to learning constantly. Maybe they would begin noticing opportunities where they once saw only routine. Maybe they would understand that building wealth is not an event, it is a process filled with learning, mistakes, adjustments, and growth. And although there is no magical formula, there is something that makes an enormous difference: the decision to think independently. Because in the end, wealth doesn't begin in a bank account. It begins in the way a person understands the world. And every time someone changes the way they think, they open the door to an entirely different future. That is why conversations like the ones happening here matter so much, because every reflection, every story, and every idea can become the spark that helps someone see their life from a new perspective. While the world continues running on autopilot, some people begin asking different questions, and very often, the right questions are the first step towards answers that can change everything.